Hello guys and welcome back to another Sword Staff video. Once you reach the later stages of the game, simply getting better gear isn't enough anymore. You start getting access to systems that let you actually customize and optimize the gear you've already obtained. And two of the most important ones are Refinement and Gem Inlay. These systems can make a huge difference to your final build, but they can also eat through your resources very quickly if you don't understand how they work. So today I'm going to break down both systems, how to use them, and what I recommend focusing on if you're trying to maximize your character. Let's start with Refinement. The Refine system is an endgame feature that becomes available once you're equipped with mythic or higher gear from the Haven dungeons. Basically, Refinement allows you to re-roll the random affixes and substats on your seasonal gear. So let's say you have an amazing piece of gear, but the secondary stats aren't really helping your build. Instead of throwing the entire piece away and looking for another one, you can use Divine-Craft stones to completely re-roll those stats. When you refine a piece of equipment, the game gives you a brand new set of random substats. You then get a choice. You can apply the new results, or you can keep your original stats. But there is one very important thing you need to remember. Even if you decide to keep your original stats, the Divine-Craft stones you spent are gone. There are no refunds. So don't just start refining every piece of gear you own because you have a few stones sitting around. You want to be very selective about which equipment is actually worth investing in. And this is where the locking system comes in. If you already have one or more stats that you absolutely don't want to lose, you can lock them before refining. That sounds great, but there's a massive catch. The cost increases dramatically, depending on how many stats you lock. With 0 stats locked, you pay the base cost. Locking one stat increases the cost to 300 Divine-Craft stones. 2 locked stats costs 1,200, and locking 3 jumps all the way to 3,200 stones. That's a huge difference. Because of that, I wouldn't recommend locking multiple stats unless you're at a point where you can comfortably afford it. For free-to-play and budget players especially, locking one really important stat at most is probably the much more sensible approach. And where do you actually get Divine-Craft stones? You can obtain them by dismantling mythic or higher gear shards from the current or newer seasons. Keep in mind that previous season shards don't provide this currency. A Divine tier piece can give you roughly 50 shards, so don't automatically throw away those unwanted high-rarity pieces. Some of that gear can effectively become fuel for improving the gear you actually want to keep. Now, let's move on to the second system, and this one is much more straightforward. Gem Inlay. Gem Inlay allows you to insert stat-boosting gems directly into your equipment. Once your equipment reaches level 130, you can unlock dual gem inlaying for each piece, giving you up to 10 active gem slots across your gear. And one thing I really like about the system is that your gems aren't permanently tied to one piece of equipment. If you replace your gear, your inlaid gems are retained safely, so you don't have to worry about losing all of your investment every time you upgrade a piece. However, you do need to pay attention to which gems each piece of equipment can actually accept. Different gear pieces have different socket rules, although some more versatile pieces and offhands can accommodate a wider selection. You can even stack 2 identical gems in the same piece when the equipment allows it. And this is where your build starts becoming really important. For example, Obsidian increases attack and damage, making it an extremely strong choice for damage-focused classes. For my own Conqueror, this is the type of gem that immediately catches my attention because I'm looking to maximize my offensive output and push PvE content as efficiently as possible. Then we have Amethyst, which provides speed and crit rate. If you're running a damage build that benefits heavily from attacking faster and landing critical hits, this can be another extremely valuable option. Moonstone goes in a completely different direction, providing defense and damage resistance. So if you're struggling with survivability or want to make your character more durable, this is the type of gem you should be looking at. And finally, we have Amber and Beryl, which focus more on HP and healing and are particularly useful for Sage and healer-oriented builds. So there isn't necessarily one gem that's perfect for everybody. The best choice depends on what your character actually needs. There's also another important part of the system, gem synthesis. You can combine 2 gems of the same tier to create a higher tier gem, with the system going all the way from T1 up to T15. Up to Tier 6, including the upgrade from Tier 5 to Tier 6, synthesis has a 100% success rate. Once you start going beyond Tier 6, however, there is some risk involved, and a failed attempt can cause you to lose the feeder materials. So just like refinement, don't blindly throw resources into the system. Think about which stats actually benefit your build and prioritize those first. For my account, I'm primarily looking at the offensive options that complement my Conqueror, but someone playing a completely different class could get much more value from defensive or healing-focused gems. And that's really the biggest lesson I would take away from both of these systems. Don't just chase the biggest number you can get. Optimize for your build. Refinement lets you turn good gear into great gear by fixing its substats, while Gem Inlay lets you further customize that equipment around the stats your character actually needs. Once you start combining strong gear, good substats, the right gems, and the right build, that's when you can really start pushing your character toward its maximum potential. So, if you're entering the endgame and these systems are becoming available to you, don't rush into spending everything. Start with your most important pieces of gear, identify the stats your build needs, and invest your resources where they'll give you the biggest return. That's how I'm approaching Refinement and Gem Inlay on my own account, and I'm definitely going to be pushing these systems further as I continue building my Conqueror. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.